Thank you. So, this morning, I do a lot of, well, I'm jumping around here. In my mediumship practice with various clients and other things, I do a lot of light trance writing. I go into a light trance and I write. And in fact, I'm publishing a book in the next few months regarding that. One of my clients, a man, lost his wife a number of years ago, and we've been working over the past year and a half, well, over 100 pages of transcripts of communications between him and her. So, but I also do sometimes create prayers through kind of a light trance writing. They just come to me at times. And sometimes when I meditate, I get into a deep enough trance and Spirit wants to come and speak to me. So I'm aware enough. I'm not in such a deep trance that I'm completely out of my awareness. I'm aware enough to hit the record button on my phone, and then if I like what I brought forth, I will write it up later. So this, I have two things here. One is trance writing, which I feel is very important today because of all the stuff that's going on in the world and the politics that are happening and the great divisiveness. So this would address that. And then this one is about the importance of maintaining your light as a spiritualist and developing your own abilities. So usually my sessions, this is like 2.5 pages. Usually they're around 4 pages or more, and I cut this down so I got tired of speaking so long. But this morning I think I'm going to make it a little longer so I could fit in both of these. So these are things I've done with the world of spirit. Just for everybody's clarification, when I go into trance, I am in a light trance. Trance can go from light to deep. Deep is when someone is so entranced in this altered state of consciousness that they are unaware of their surroundings. So the English define automatic writing as when you are in such a deep trance state that you are unaware of anything and your hands write without you knowing what they're writing. And sometimes people who are right-handed will write with their left hand, or vice versa, or both hands. I do not go in that deep. Okay? Maybe someday I will, but frankly, when spirit energy comes in, it's so powerful, I don't know that I can handle it, because you have to have a really strong constitution to be able to handle spirit energy when it comes in. So my writing is what the English would call inspirational writing. I'm definitely working with spirit. It's not what we Americans call automatic writing. Most Americans would call what I do automatic writing, but it's really not. So I kind of came up with my own definition: light to moderate trance writing. And moderate trance speaking, because I'm a little more deep in that when I speak. And in fact, when I speak, and I would love to do it this morning, but I just don't feel strong enough yet to do that in front of a church, and then I won't be able to do spirit messages, because spirit messages are a much more active form of mediumship when you do evidential mediumship and spiritual messages, whereas trance, you really are very passive and you're kind of out of it. So, anyway, I forgot my point, but I'll just go on for where we are. So what I'll do is I'll start out with this. This is dated August 22nd. It was for a specific client, but I'm going to remove the name. And I think so, and I'll just tell you what I was inspired to write working with spirit. One of the most important things to remember when working with spirit is the need to remain harmonious This applies to whether it is inner harmony of the individual or outer harmony when working with others, especially those who are part of your communication circle, your spirit communication circle. In the coming months, there will be great turmoil surrounding politics, not just in America, but all over the world. This is because there are great changes taking place on the earth, different cosmic influences, different understandings of what life is about that earth peoples will be experiencing. This has been a long time in coming. The energies causing this turmoil have been building for many decades. Added to all this is the increasing difficulty for leaders of any sort, not just political, but all fields, including science, medicine, education, business, and so on, to hide information from the public. This due to greater transparency through technological advances, especially as it applies to the internet. The people of the earth have grown frustrated on both sides of the upheavals that are taking place. Their frustration inevitably is sent out into the ethers and is felt by others, who then join in with the frustration, increasing it even more, which is then sent again into the ethers and is felt by others, who then join in with, and this makes for a never-ending cycle of building anger and frustration. This is nothing new on the face of the earth, as there have always been upheavals of the sort periodically. It is part and parcel of the earth experience. It is imperative that in order to continue communication with spirit in a smooth and satisfying manner, that individuals involved in this kind of work maintain their sense of balance, regardless of what happens outside of their sense of self. For if there's one thing that is most important to communication, or spirit communication, it is harmony. Without harmony, communication will become more challenging. The connections between our world and yours, this is spirit talking to us, is a fragile one that can be easily broken. This you know well, as your own studies, experiences, and practices have taught you this. It is now all the more important to remember this. For a time period that tests and challenges humanity to remember where they really come from, where people really come from, who is their true source, what is your actual home, what is an illusion, and what is real. Does the individual fall apart and end up in the muck of humanity's anger and frustration? Does the individual pull themselves up, practices self-mastery over the lower self, and rises to the occasion as a beacon of support and light in a time when it is needed more than ever? So many will struggle with this and become caught in a mire not easy to distance from. But those whose focus remains on Source, on the light of wisdom, can and will serve as a beacon of light and hope for those others who are struggling to remember that we are all, not just those of us in the other worlds, but also our brothers and sisters on earth. We are all people of the stars, of the cosmos and beyond. Okay. So that's part one. So this was trans-writing. The next one is trans-speaking, and this was taken a couple of months ago, but it's the same kind of message that's going along. This morning, Spirit would like to talk about the practice of sharing our light in the form of mediumship in order to better the world. This is something which all spiritualists should be doing to a lesser or greater degree. For mediumship is as much a part of nature as is the weather, the sky, all creatures, swimming, walking, or flying upon the earth. It is as normal as being born and breathing the air. It is a wonderful way to bring hope and solace to a world in dire need. You need not have to be able to perform platform or to give readings. What we are talking about, and when they say we, this is spirit talking, what we are talking about is the willingness to attest that communing with loved ones and guides in spirit is not only possible, but it is a part of normal life. It is part of the natural world, and it is not something to be feared or to avoid. Spiritualists' main purpose is to demonstrate that life continues after the transition called death. Consciousness was with us before we were born, it is with us now, and will continue long after our physical bodies have ceased functioning. And whether such demonstration of mediumship is for one's own self or for the sake of others, whether it is small or in great measure, it doesn't matter. What matters is that there is the intent to commune with spirit, to bring messages from spirit to us on earth, for we are all part of a greater whole. We are not as divided into the physical world versus the non-physical worlds as we have been generally taught to believe. As all of our thoughts count, small and big thoughts, we all have meanings beyond mere utterances. For thoughts are actual things and are not to be trifled with. In a sense, thoughts are a kind of energy. And as increasingly more thought energies agree that truth in life is far more spiritual than it is material, at some point a critical point is reached in the ethers. This critical point represents a realization for increasing numbers of people that spirit communication is a normal part of the earth experience. This is not a belief. This is a knowing, just as gnosis is knowing through experience. Just as spouses sometimes know one another's thoughts without a word being spoken, thought energies can and are transmitted about us non-physically. This is commonly known as telepathy, but goes by other names as well. Some thought energies accumulate in energy and power as they become increasingly more common. For example, as increasingly more people understand that spirit communication is real, such thought energies to that effect accrue in our psychic atmosphere. Eventually, a critical point is reached that spirit communication is real and a fact, thereby becoming a defining outlook of our culture. Just as the concept that the earth rotates around the sun is now taken for granted. And of course, in past times we thought that the sun rotated around the earth. So will the concept of life after death become part and parcel of our culture once that critical point is reached through thought energies. We are fast approaching this juncture. As spiritualists, it is important that we play our role in this great awakening. We must not allow fear to discourage us from our own practices of mediumship in whatever form it may take. It doesn't matter if you do readings, support those who do readings, if you commune through spirit through nature, if you meditate or practice automatic writing or look for signs in the form of coins. Don't be shy about speaking up. Push back against the naysayers who try to discourage us every chance they get. In one of the biblical parables, before traveling, a wealthy man gave one of his servants 5 talents, which is another word for coins. Excuse me. Another servant 2 talents, and a third 1 talent. The one with the 5 talents traded them, ending up with a total of 10. The one with the 2 talents also traded his talents, and ended up with a total of 4. But the servant who only received 1 talent buried it in the ground. He was afraid of losing it, you see, because he had so little to begin with. When the wealthy man returned, he praised the first 2 servants who had the 5 and 4 talents. But he took away the 1 buried talent from the third servant, who out of fear did nothing with what had been given to him. In other words, use what abilities you have in your life and build on them. If you don't, your abilities will stagnate and you will lose what little you do have. This especially applies to spiritual matters. Don't hide and bury your mediumship or psychic abilities or psychic sensitivities. Build on what you do have so that it continues to grow and develop. And in doing so, not only do you help yourself, but the world as well. So even if you have just a little, use it, build on it, and in time as time goes along, just as a flower grows up and eventually blooms, you too will bloom. There is much in the media and other sources that paint an erroneous picture of what spirit communication is like. On the one hand, religion may paint mediumship as demonic, while medicine views it as a form of mental illness. Fortunately, such misinformed opinions are slowly changing. Now, mainstream science still likes to insist that consciousness is a product of the physical body. The scientists say that consciousness is a result of a random set of chemicals that by chance happen to develop the physical world. However, there are many scientists now that are reversing this assumption. And I'm going to quote something out of a scientific magazine. Most scientists believe that consciousness came after life as a product of evolution. But observations of extraterrestrial organic material, along with Roger Penrose and Stuart Hamerhoff's quantum theory of consciousness, provide reason to believe that consciousness came before life. In fact, argue the 2 scientists, consciousness may have been what made evolution and life possible in the first place. The more that spirit communication is normalized and understood, the less suffering people will experience when it comes to their time to transition. This is true for those about to transition, and as well as their loved ones will be remaining on Earth a while longer. It is imperative that our culture changes our understanding of the afterlife. For it is in the knowing that there is life after death that peace will be brought to people, a peace that unfortunately most will never get to experience. And so it is our responsibility as spiritualists to demonstrate in small or great measure the existence, the reality that consciousness continues after the change called death. It's not a maybe, it's a belief, it's a fact. For consciousness was there before you were born, it's with you during life, and it will be there after your physical body ceases. We, the spirit people, ask you spiritualists to constantly practice your mediumship and psychic abilities, whether in small or great measure, by yourself or with others. Take what abilities you have, no matter how small or big, and build upon it. Let's all help accumulate thought energies in the ethers to such an extent that it will reach that critical point that will change our world for the better. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you.